Mr. Afikile Sikwebu. I am in the Eastern Cape in a town called Gqeberha. Maybe you have heard of Gqeberha in the past, previously known as Port Elizabeth. I am a teacher at a school called Linkside High School. I teach digital technologies to grade 8, and I teach computer applications technology to grade 8s, 9, and 10s. All right, so that is what I do. I love to play with toys. So I break toys and I fix toys, and I make things out of toys. So that is what I do when I am not at school. So this is who I am. If you want to see my face, there I am. That's my face right there. And what we are going to do today, especially because majority of us or many of us are new, we are going to learn or find out what coding is. So that is what, at the end of this lesson, I want you guys to be able to know what coding is. That is what we are going to do. We want to also we are going to learn a new word called algorithm. So it's a nice tongue twister, algorithm. So at the end of this session, I would like you guys to be able to define what an algorithm is. And then we are going to register and log into the Misora platform. I will explain what that is. It is the platform that we are going to use to learn our coding today or during this week. And we are going to create a basic algorithm. All right, so that is what we are going to do today. And so for those people who were with us for our lessons in January, I see Lumbala has also just joined us. For those people who were with us in January, I want you guys to be patient with us. I want you guys to relearn. I'm not saying you were not learning during the time of from February all the way to April, but I want you just to relearn some of the things that we did. Take this as a revision. So please bear with us. There are things that we have to explain to the folk that are joining us for the first time. All right, so then what is coding? If we look at coding, basically it is telling a computer what to do. So it is usually a computer language that we use. If we can try and think of computer coding as me giving or you instructions, and I am using English to give you these instructions. And there are certain words in these instructions. Let's say I give you an instruction that says, go to the kitchen. You see, there are words in this sentence of mine, and they are giving you an instruction to do, and the instruction is to go to the kitchen. All right. So now, if I were to say to you, hamba uye kwindlu yokupheka, you possibly would not understand what I'm saying to you because I'm speaking in a different language. All right. So we really then, when we are coding, we are telling a computer what to do, and we are telling it in a language that it understands. All right. So that is what I would say what coding is. Excuse me. It is just a language that is used by computers to understand the commands that you give it. So some of us speak Afrikaans, some of us speak English, some of us speak isiXhosa, Zulu, Pedi, Venda. So we have different languages. And if you want to learn a new language, then you can just learn that language. So coding is the language that is understood by computers. And then I said we were going to learn a new word called algorithm. And it is just a step-by-step way of solving a problem or completing a task. So I've told you now, go to the kitchen. And now I want to break down that instruction into smaller pieces in order for you to understand what I'm saying. So I have said, go to the kitchen. Now, the steps that you are going to take for you to move from where you are to when you get to the kitchen, that is what your algorithm is. So to perhaps talk about an algorithm, what I'm going to ask is to for us to make coffee. Let's say you were sitting in your TV room at home. You were watching TV and your mother says, Lumbala, please go and make coffee for me. Give me the steps that you would take for you to move from the TV room all the way to the kitchen. So anyone can do that for me. So if you feel confident, you can just tell me, what would you do to make that coffee? What are the steps that you would take to make that coffee? Anyone?
First, I would walk from where I was to go to the kitchen. Then I would take out the ingredients to make the coffee. Then I would make the coffee.
Okay, so that is what you would do. But you still, you see, that's fine. But still, I don't know how to make the coffee. I don't know where the ingredients are. I don't know the process of making that coffee. Now, you see, thank you for that answer, by the way. You see, you are telling me how to make coffee because you are assuming that I know how to make coffee, right? So, but now a computer, on the other hand, if a computer could make coffee, you would then move from the TV room, you would get to the kitchen, you would then decide whether you want to take out the ingredients first or you want to take out the cup first, or you would then go towards the kettle. You would take the kettle, you would go and fill it with water. But before you fill it with water, you check, is the kettle full or is the kettle empty? That is another decision. If the kettle is empty, then you open the tap. When the kettle is full, then you close the tap and then you walk back to the wherever you plug your kettle. You plug your kettle, you switch it on. You ask yourself, is the water boiling? So do you see the steps that a computer would take? It would want to then, it would have you making every single step, telling it every single step, and anything that you do not tell the computer, it is not going to do. So that is what an algorithm to making coffee would look like. But of course, I did not finish it, all right? So, and then sometimes finally, we have bugs in our code. And a bug is a mistake in code, which makes the code produce unexpected results. So my algorithm about making coffee has a bug in the sense that I did not finish making the coffee. All right. I just ended at plugging in the kettle. There are still things that also I didn't do. I didn't take out the coffee. I didn't take out the spoons. I didn't take out the sugar. So I just boiled water essentially. That is it. So when you make mistakes in your code, which we are going to make a lot of them, and there's nothing wrong with making mistakes. It is called a bug in computer language. All right. So let's get some coding done. What we are then going to do is to log into the software that we are going to use. And we are going to log into the software we are going to use. And we are using a software called Misora. So I want you guys to go to, on your computers, go to a web browser where you check the internet. So open a web browser, and on there you are going to type MS Zora. mszora.co.za. So ms.zora.co.za, and it's going to bring you to this web page. For those of you guys who have already registered, you are going to log in. For those who are in January, you know how to log in now. For those who are new, you are going to go to sign up. All right. So when you have signed up, you are going to choose your username. Let's say I choose a username and say my username. And I'm going to choose a password. Now, if it says here, the password must have at least 8 characters, at least 1 number, at least 1 lowercase, at least 1 uppercase, at least 1 alphanumeric character, such as a star or a hash. So what I'm going to do, you can select a password of your choice. Here is a number, here is a hash, here is a capital letter, and then small letters for everything. That's my password, okay? So you can select your password that you are going to remember. Next, you are going to insert your email address. You can use your parents' email address if you have permission from them to use it. You can insert their email address here, and you are going to repeat the email address on here. You then insert your name. Let me just insert an email address so that you can see email address at gmail.com. You will insert your email address and you will then repeat that here just to make sure that they are the same. Then your first name, last name, and then the city where you are at. And then of course, last, the country. Okay. And the grade that you are currently in. Okay, do you all have that? So I'm going to just give you about 30 seconds to perhaps finish, and then you are going to say create, you're going to click on create my new account. But because I have an account already, I am not going to create my new account. So once you have that, you can log in with the details that you have selected, the username that you have chosen, and also your password. Okay. All right. So you will then be taken to your dashboard, which looks like this. It will welcome you with your first name. And we are then going to select the Misora blocks, the one in the middle. It will take a few seconds to load depending on the internet. All right, so then it will bring me to my projects. I don't have any projects now. I do my projects offline, so I don't have I don't have any projects here. So it will bring you to the screen that says new projects. You can then click on this button that says new project. Once you've done that, it will bring you to the screen. Sorry. All right, are we all here?
So I'm still logging in. I'm trying to sign up.
Okay. All right, I'll just give you maybe 30 seconds. Otherwise, you can watch this video later on today and catch up with us. Has everybody else logged in, or do we have other people who are trying to log in?
So when I'm logging in, it doesn't say the sign up place.
Okay. Does it say did you say missora.co.za, and then what do you see on your screen?
I just see sign in, no log in.
Log in. You haven't registered before, right?
Yes.
You haven't registered before. Okay. Do you mind if I say just watch the session and then I will help you at the end, because I'm trying to chase some time, right? Then at the end,
Okay.
I'm going to help you at the end. Then you can watch. We are going to upload this video on YouTube. Then you can watch it on YouTube and do it with us. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am, very much. All right. So when you start, you are going to be brought to the screen. And it is basically where we are going to be doing all our coding. And I want to show you guys, I'm going to show you guys some aspects of the screen so that you know where all the different elements we are going to use are. All right, so first thing is that we have this new project here. This is where you can give your project a name. And I'm going to give our project a new name and say maybe the beginning. All right. And that is the name that that is going to be used to save our project. It's going to be called the beginning. All right. And we have different areas. We have the coding area, or the coding blocks, which sit right on this left panel, or the coding palette. This is where all the coding we are going to use comes from. All right. And we have still on this palette, we have costumes. I'm going to explain that a bit further. And then we have sound, which I'm also going to explain a bit further. So we have code, we have costumes, we have sounds. And then I'm going to explain what each of these does. Then at the bottom left, we have another button here to add extensions, but we are not going to add any extensions this week, so I'm not going to speak about that. And we have our coding area right in the center, or right at the center, or in the middle of our screen, or at the center of our screen. This is where all the code that we are going to use is going to sit. So this is our code, and we are going to place our code on this section here. All right. Then on the top right of our screen, we have our play area. This is where the code that we have placed here, this is where we are going to see what it does. So we are going to place our algorithms on this coding area, and we are going to have our characters that we have chosen to replay the code for us so that we can see it coming to life. Then we have this Sprites section. So in Missora, every single character that we use, for instance, this guy here, we call this character a sprite. So we have different sprites that we can use. And in order for you to check other sprites, you are going to come to this icon here that looks like a cat, and it says choose a sprite. And you have other options as well, but we are going to use the one that says choose a sprite. And if you then press on choose a sprite, it is going to bring different sprites for you, all right? You can see that we have different sprites now. So we're not going to enter sprites just as yet, up until I finish explaining here. And then finally, we have a background area here. All right, so we can also insert a background, and this is what a background would look like, for instance. All right, so we have inserted a background. That is what it looks like when it has a background. So you have a background, you can upload your own backgrounds also. You can draw your own backgrounds as well, all right? So if we come back to the sprites area, you will see that your sprite has a name. And if you wanted to, you can give your sprite a name of your choice. All right. So let's say this sprite is going to be my name. I can rename my sprite, but just also something you need to remember. Your sprite will always have that name only for this project that you are working on. When you start a new project, this sprite is going to be called by its default name, which is going to be Sprite1. It is only ever going to be this name when I open the beginning project again. All right. So we also have a position for the sprite. It is now currently at the X. So we have an X and a Y position. And it is at minus 130 on the X position, and it is at 151 on the Y position. That is going to play a big role for us when we start making games. So you just need to pay attention to whenever the sprite moves, these numbers also will keep changing according to where the sprite lands, okay? So whenever you move it, also these numbers will change. We can then also increase or decrease the size of our sprite. So I'm going to make it half its size. So we can make it smaller. We can increase its size. So depending on how you want it to, how small or big you want it to be, you can make your sprite certainly bigger. And then we can also show or hide our sprite. And we are going to show it this way, and we hide it this way. All right. And then finally, we can also change the direction that our sprite is facing. It is currently it's currently standing at 90 degrees. And if we change, we can change it. We can change we can rotate it according to what we want it to do, all right? So that is the sprite area. And then finally, you can also zoom in and zoom out, but you won't see anything now because we don't have any code on here. All right. If you want to remove this sprite, you can delete it such like that, and you can insert a new sprite. So we are going to now insert a new sprite, and we are going to see what we can do with it. But before we do that, let me remove this backdrop by coming to backdrops, and I'm going to click on this trash can, and that backdrop is going to disappear. All right, so let us now select a new sprite and see how we can write an algorithm for that sprite. So I'm going to choose a sprite. And I see there are new sprites for us. So let me see if there's a sprite that I like. So let me choose this bear. First, maybe I like bears, all right? And then I'm going to choose another sprite. I'm going to choose this girl. I'm going to call this girl Abigail, all right? And we can see that this bear, I'm going to call him Papa Bear. Right, so we have Papa Bear and we have Abigail, and I'm going to make them a bit smaller. I'm going to make them a bit smaller so that they don't finish our space. I'm going to make her smaller also, just a tiny bit. Oh, she's too small now. I'm sure all of you guys can still see, right? Maybe let me make her just a bit bigger. And I'm going to select a background. Let me look for something that has a forest. No, that's too dark. Let's see. Okay, let me choose a winter because, well, this is a bear. It's not a polar bear. Okay. What we can also do is to change our sprite colors. So I want this to become a polar bear. Let me see if I can make him out to be a polar bear. So what we do is that you are going to select the sprite whose color you want to change, and you are going to come to costumes. And when you get to costumes, you will see your bear, and you can click on this paint bucket or this fill tool. You select a color that you want your bear to be. You can mix your colors, and then you can make him out to be a polar bear, you know. But, oh, sorry. Let me undo my mistakes. So you can change the colors of your bear as you want, but you will then have to change all of these bears. You will see that there are multiple sprites. So you are going to have to change all of them on the other sprites as well, okay? But it's going to be a lot of work for now, so I'm not going to change his color. All right, so we have a bear, and we have an Abigail here, all right? Bears don't like people. People don't like bears, okay? So we want to have a story here we want to make our bear to walk, all right? So we want our bear to move from this side of the screen, and it must get to the other side of the screen. Okay, are we together? Are we still understanding? Okay. Anyone who is lost?
So I wanted to say that I have an app or something like this. The name of it is Scratch.
Okay, that's all right. That's great. If you know how to use that, it's great also. Yeah, but for now, I'd like us to use this platform because then we can keep track of each other's progress as we go along. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. All right. So now that we have a bear and we have an Abigail on the other side, we want to cause our bear to move, and we have different codes here. We have motion blocks. We have different blocks. We have motion blocks. We have looks blocks. We have sound blocks. We have events, and we have control. Okay, let me just mute. Can you please mute everyone for me? Thank you, sir. And then we have operators, variables, and then we have my blocks. So we are going to today use these motion blocks, and I'm going to explain some of these blocks as we go along. All right. So what we now want to do is we want our bear to move. And we are going to come to the motion blocks. And okay, sorry guys, I just want to mute everybody. I just want to mute everyone. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, we are here. All right. So we have the motion block, and in the motion block we have different blocks inside, like such as move 10 steps, turn 15 degrees, turn 15 degrees backwards, go to random position, and you have other blocks as well. So what I would encourage you to do is to randomly select any block that you want and see what that block does. For instance, this one says turn 15 degrees. Let's see if I double click on this, what does it do? It turns our bear by 15 degrees. So every time that we press on it, our bear turns by 15 degrees. And if I click on this one, it makes our bear turn 15 degrees backwards, all right? So you can randomly select what you want your bear to do. All right, or you can randomly select different codes to see how that code is going to affect your program. All right. So what I want to encourage you, to always do is that when you are coding, make sure that the code you are using makes sense in your head. It makes sense to you. All right. So we want, for instance, the bear to move 10 steps. All right. So if I click on the bear, it's going to move only 10 steps. If I click not on the bear, if I click on the move 10 steps, it's going to keep moving. All right. It keeps moving. And naturally, if I say move minus 10 steps, now you will see what happens here at the X, because it's moving on the X axis. Look at what is going to happen here, how this number will change. All right. So as I click, it keeps on decreasing because it's moving backwards. If I can explain something that maybe you do in maths, we have here 4 different quadrants. It is 4 like this, such as this. And this side going left is our negative side. This side going right, it is our positive side. So whenever I click, it goes backwards. If I remove this positive sign, this negative sign, it is going to go forward. All right. So now I have this moving, but you can still see that while it's moving, it's gliding on the ice. And I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a bear that skis on ice or glides on ice. So we want our bear to have some form of natural movement. And we have already seen that we have other sprites as well for our bear. So is there a way that we can use these sprites to make our bear have some form of natural movement? So let's see how we can do that. We do that by going to looks. In fact, what we could have done, in fact, we could have done this. Let's see, and say glide to Abigail. Let's increase the time and say glide for 5 seconds to Abigail. And then when it gets to Abigail, it stops, all right? But we want to have it moving to Abigail. So we are going to say move 10 steps to Abigail. And in order for us to use the other sprites as well, we are going to go to the coding, the looks category. And in looks, we are going to see, oh, what can we use to change our looks? This one says, say hello for 2 seconds. That's not what we want. Say, we don't want it to think. We don't want it to think. We want to switch a costume, all right? So what we can do is that we can either select this one, or select this one. But let's see what each of these will do. So if you say switch costume to bear walking, all right, it's going to switch to one of the costumes that we have here. But we want it to go through all the costumes. So we want it to go through to the next costume, or whenever we press, it must go to the next costume. So whenever we press, yeah.
So what do we do here? Because I've reached where this road costume. So now I don't understand what am I supposed to do.
You are aware at costumes?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a bear and a character, a girl?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any of the code that you see on your screen?
Code.
Okay, go to code. Do you see you see costumes here?
Yes.
Okay, do you see where it says code?
Yes.
Okay, click on that code. You saw that, right?
Mm.
Okay. Now, do you see where it says motion?
Yes.
All right, click on motion. It should be on motion by default. Okay, then do you see where it says the first motion block is move 10 steps?
Mm.
Okay, so take that move 10 steps and drag it. Sorry, I didn't explain that part, how to move it to the other side. So you press and hold and drag it to your coding area. You got that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if let's say you made a mistake and that's not the code that you want, you can drag it back to where you don't necessarily have to drag it to where you found it. You can drag it back to that coding blocks area. All right. So now that you've moved 10 steps, we want to go through the different costumes that sprite has. So we are going to go to looks because we want to change the looks of our sprite. Are you in looks? Are you in looks? Okay, I suppose you are there. Then you are going to select next costume. Okay, then you drag that, sorry, not next backdrop, you select next costume and you drag it and you click it onto that move 10 steps, such as I have done here. All right, so when we have this, if we now click on our code on our algorithm, you will see now what happens. Whenever we click, our bear moves and it moves the costume as well. And if we look at our, okay, no, we can't do it here. If we look at whenever we click, it moves accordingly, all right? So that is a very, very basic algorithm that we have done, all right? So that is a very basic algorithm that we have done. It is just 2 lines. All right. So sometimes we don't want to, okay, let me make maybe another one before I go there. Let's put this one at the bottom here. Let us make a longer algorithm. Let's put it here. We are going to say to the bear, it must move 100 steps and it must turn let's make it turn 90 degrees. And it must move another 100 steps. It must also turn another 100 degrees, 90 degrees, sorry. And it must move another 100 steps. And then it must turn another 90 degrees. So we have here an algorithm that our bear is going to follow. It's going to move 100 steps, turn 90 degrees, move another 100 steps, turn 90 degrees, move another 100 steps, turn 90 degrees, and it is going to do this 4 times. Let's say 4 times, move 100 steps, and then finally turn another 90 degrees. And in order for us to see what it's doing, we are going to make it draw a line. Okay, so we are going to make it draw a line by selecting pen down. If I can just find the one that there's a code called pen down. Where is pen down? Sorry, let me just check for pen down. Pen down. Wow. Okay, if you can find a code called pen down on yours, you can just add pen down on here, and it is going to draw a line for us. All right, so I just can't find it. I can't find it. Wow, okay. I can't find pen down. So what I'm going to do is to have also finally a head block to start our code. So we call that a head block, which then says, when I click the flag, you must move 100 steps and turn 90 degrees. So, and also add something here to make it slower. Let me add a timer to make it slower. Let me right click, duplicate. I will duplicate it 3 times. Okay, so I'm going to add a timer here that is going to slow it down. All right, and then a timer here that is going to slow it down so that we can see, excuse me, we can see our code, what it does. All right, so if I now click on the flag, all right, so it moves in a square motion. All right, it's just that I can't find this pen. There used to be a pen, I just can't find it now. All right, so it moves in a square motion, and it waits for, so it moves 100 steps. If I can make this one slower. It moves 100 steps. No, not 50 seconds, definitely not. 5 seconds. So it moves 100 steps, it waits, it turns 90 degrees, and then it waits. It moves another 100 steps, it turns 90 degrees and waits for 5 seconds. It moves 100 steps, it waits, it turns 90 degrees, it waits for 5 seconds. It moves 100 steps, it turns 90 degrees, it waits for 5 more seconds. So that is our algorithm that we have done. So you can have your own algorithm, and you can make your bear do different things. Let's now do this. Let's put this code and let's have, yes.
Pen is in the extensions.
Yeah.
The bottom left of your screen.
Yes.
Okay, the pen is there.
Pen is there.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, wow, thank you. Thank you, sir. I
Welcome.
appreciate it.
Mr. James.
Okay. Okay, cool. So if you go to extensions, everybody, go to extensions, you will find pen. And when you click on pen, you will see that it is going to open up a pen tool. So you will see the pen tool will be at the bottom left of all your coding blocks. And you can then select pen down and put it right at the top of your code. Now, if we click on our flag, which has become slower. All right, it has drawn a square for us. All right, and that is that. Thank you, sir. So if we were to join, let's say we joined both of these, we have two different codes that are supposed to start at the same time. Let's see what happens then if we start them at the same time. We'll see. All right, so you will see that it does not execute this one, but we will then look at, maybe on Friday, we will look at how do you run two different codes at the same time. Can you run two different codes at the same time? That is something that we are going to look at a later stage. How do we do it if it's something that can be done? All right. So if we remove this one and we come back to our code, you will see it's only when I press that my bear starts to walk. But of course, there's a power that a computer has in that we can start writing code that is going to keep repeating things for us. All right, so that I don't think that anyone has ever played a game where you must just keep pressing all the time. All right, I don't think we play games like that. I don't think we play games like that anymore. So what we are going to do is to find a way, how can we make our bear to keep moving all of the time? We can press the bear once and our code is going to keep repeating for us all the time. So what we'll do is to go to the coding block called control. And I'm going to introduce you to one code, or two codes really, that I think, even though it's early in our program, it will benefit you if you know them. So we have two blocks. One is called repeat, and then the other is called forever. All right. So how we can use this repeat? Let me erase all of this by going to pen and click erase. Then it erases everything. All right, so we have our code here, which says move 100 steps, turn 90 degrees. And we are repeating this code 4 times. So this is the code that we are going to repeat. We are just doing this thing 4 times. Now, you can see that it's quite a long code to be repeating. It just does the same thing. It moves, turns, moves, turns, moves, turns. And we can see there's a pattern that it repeats. It moves 100 steps 4 times. It turns 90 degrees 4 times. It waits for 1 second 4 times. So there's a pattern here. So now that we have found that there's a pattern, we can then repeat once, or sorry, we can write the code that has a pattern once, and we just repeated the number of times that we want. So instead of now writing this code 4 times, we can say write this code once, but because it is a pattern, repeat it 4 times, because it's now a pattern. So now let's see if it is going to do it. Right, so you can see that this code, this short code, is doing what this one was doing before. All right, and certainly if I were you, I would choose to go this way. All right, so you can see this one is much shorter, and it is even less confusing than this one. All right, so what we have used now is called a loop encoding. We call it a loop. So a loop is a way that we use to repeat code when we are coding. So we have a loop. And finally, we have this other loop called forever, which we sometimes use. And this is what forever will do. It will keep going in squares forever. All right, so that is what our forever will do. All right, so we have looked at creating an algorithm, and we created a simple, algorithm. We have seen our bear moving, and if we wanted to do it, we can use this forever on here also. Now we have a bear that is walking upside down, and we want our bear, when it gets to the edge, we want it to go to the other way. We can select if on edge, bounce, all right? Then you'll see that still our bear keeps going upside down, and we can say set rotation style left to right, and you will see that it is going to correct all of that. All right, so that is how we can use a loop. That is how we can use that forever. That bear will just continue moving until you stop your program. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our session. And if I can just summarize everything, we looked at what coding is, and we looked at building an algorithm. And while we were building our algorithm, we also we said that an algorithm is a step-by-step way that we instruct a computer on what to do. And we told our computer to draw a square, and we told it step by step. First thing, you move 100 steps. Secondly, you turn 90 degrees. Thirdly, you wait 1 second. Fourth, you move 100 steps, you turn 90 degrees. So we saw how we can build an algorithm. And these algorithms can be quite long, depending on what you want to do. We also looked at how we can use a loop in our algorithms. That a loop is a way that we can run a program multiple times, depending on how many times we want that program to run. We can use a loop. So that is what we have done today. I'm going to take questions for the next 4 minutes, but there's also some announcements that I need to give you guys. So if you have a question, you can please unmute yourself. I'm going to stop sharing now. There's something I just need to quickly open for you guys. All right.
Sir,
Anyone have a question? Yes, sir.
are we having another lesson tomorrow?
Yes, we will have